They're sweet as puppies. They'll eat out of your hand. They come up to you looking for affection. They want to be scratched behind the ears, and these four in particular, they really do love humans. We received an email in the middle of the night. The email just said, our mother goat gave birth last night. She abandoned the babies. They didn't know how many there were going to be. Quadruplets is really rare for goats. I think the mom was probably just overwhelmed and jumped out of her stall and just like disappeared and left her babies with no food or anything. I hate painting that picture because I don't want people to think that like goats are poor mothers, but I think that anybody that, had four babies at once and only had two teats to feed them with might be overwhelmed, Given that there were four of them, they were so tiny. So we instantly started bottle feeding because they hadn't had their mom's milk. They were kind of left out in the cold overnight. Most farmers won't take the time to bottle feed babies. It is a big commitment. For one, you're basically taking care of them around the clock. So you multiply that by 4 and you got your hands full. So farmer called us not wanting to bottle feed the 4 babies. If the cost of a treatment exceeds the value of the animal, most farmers are not going to spend the money because it's going to cost them rather than make them money. They're running a business. I was the primary one bottle feeding them as babies. They lived in our house until they were big enough to go outside and eat grass on their own. They very much know who I am. They know my voice. I'm one of the only people that can tell them apart from a mile away. At nighttime, if they're not at the barn waiting for me, I'll call out to them and they just come running. Gerald had a urinary blockage, which is fairly common in goats. He had to go to the hospital for a long while, and this was, I think, last summer. So he was gone away from his siblings for weeks, and they grieved, they didn't know where he was. They don't understand that he's coming back. We can't tell them. When he did come home and had to be kept in a separate stall, they were trying to get to him. And he was so depressed because he had to be separated. He could see them, but he couldn't be with them. And eventually it was just like, this is going to make him sicker. Being away from them is depressing him. And so we put them back together and everything was good, and he was fine. And so they are just these complex beings that are more than just silly, and funny. They're emotional and they have the capacity to feel pain and complex emotions.